Bigfoot Collectors Club with Michael and Riley. I know a story of high strangeness or two. Let's do this.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Bigfoot Collectors Club, the show where we talk to amazing guests about their personal paranormal history and share stories of high strangeness. I'm your host, Michael McMillian. With me always is the non-Perel neuromancer of musical notation and mystic arts.
Wow, Riley Bray.
That was submitted by our dear Patreon, Joseph Hilario.
What a title.
Yeah, Joseph says, as a nod to Riley's continued pursuit of AI-human unification, I thought a little William Gibson cyberpunk flavor was in order. So,
hell yeah.
There you go.
Right
and we're not alone today in the cyberpunk universe. We have...
We're never alone.
We're never alone.
That's the point.
You may recognize his voice from your television screens in shows like Mad Men and The Minx, which was one of my favorite shows. Also, that's a part that I auditioned for that you booked, and you crushed it. You did a way better job than I ever would. Club's Cast of All Timelines, please welcome to the podcast for the very first time, the one, the only, Rich Sommer. Rich.
Oh, hi.
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 I love that if you're watching this on the YouTube channel, there's a board game behind you called Toodles.
Oh, yeah, Toodles.
What's Toodles about?
Takes two to doodle. That's the subtitle of it. It basically is a drawing game. Mm-hmm. I'll admit my son plays it more than I have played it. But as you can see it by the people having fun on the front, it's a drawing game, but two people hold on to the drawing apparatus together and have to draw together.
Do you have to open your mouth that wide while playing the game?
Yeah, and you have to close your eyes and open your mouth as wide as it will go while someone screams, "Toodles! It takes two to doodle!"
I knew this about you because, listen, Rich.
Listening.
I've been an admirer of yours for years now from afar. You know, we've crossed paths.
Like outside the window.
Not that far. We've had each other's phone numbers for at least a decade, but maybe more.
But we've never actually had a real conversation. We just
that's true.
Leave little fun voicemails to each other.
True. You are. Here's my favorite thing is like sometimes I'll see you in something, and because I've played so without going too far into detail, Michael and I have left only fun voicemails for each other. In fact, I believe the first earnest text maybe I've ever gotten from you was asking me to do this podcast.
Yes, it was.
And we have done these voices for each other. We've never discussed this, so it's interesting to say it out loud. But I've played several of your messages for my wife because they always make me laugh. And they're always about sort of, lately, the last 5 years, they've been about, it was like we did it during COVID and we would only speak as these characters we've created. Yeah, Again, it bears no going any deeper than that.
No, that's true. Keep it our secret.
That's right. But when I see you on TV or see you in a commercial or something, I will say to my wife, "Oh, that's Michael. That's the guy. We leave the messages." And she's like, "Oh, that's him?" I'm like, "Yes."
I want to know what she was picturing in her mind.
Hey, no, well, the voice that we do for each other has I have a picture in my head of what they look like, but yeah.
They'll never know.
It's not this. It's not what we look like.
No, it's not what we're doing, and it's not how we sound now. Sorry, Riley.
Wow, I have never been more in the dark.
No, listen, I haven't even discussed these voice messages with anyone.
No.
So I know. I'm so sorry to reach out earnestly for the first time to be like, please come be on my podcast. We need a guest by next week.
Well, no, but we had run into each other for the first time in a very long time.
That's true.
And it was nice to see you.
It was lovely to
3D
see you.
And then to get this invitation. I'm glad to be here.
Well, as your screen tipped off, and as I was going to say, I know that you're a fan of board games. And I want to... Board Game Geek is on his T-shirt. Nice. I sent you a link earlier from the same website. Mm-hmm. We're gonna dip into your personal paranormal history. We're going to crack this open by discussing a few board games that have to deal with the paranormal.
Ooh,
okay.
Easing on in. All right.
Easing on in. Now, the first one that comes to, well, not the first one that comes to mind. I think there's a big one that comes to everybody's mind that we're going to get to. But when I was a child, at my grandfather's house, they had an old electronic haunted house board game made by Ideal. Riley, I meant to put the links to this in the show notes. You can just Google Ideal Haunted House. I'll throw images up. I'll put this up. Did you ever play with this game?
I don't believe I've ever encountered that game. I've certainly heard of it. There's another game, and we can. I want to hear about this game in particular, but there's another game that maybe had been inspired by this game or something that I did play as a youth called Shrieks and Creeks.
Ooh.
And in Shrieks and Creeks, there was a little speaker that you plugged into a tape player, like a Walkman. Mm-hmm. And then the game came with a tape. And so you just put in the tape and you hit play, but no sound would come out of the speaker. And as you explored the board, you'd pick up these keys and you'd combine them and put them in the speaker. And the right combination of keys would activate the speaker. So wherever the tape was at that moment, it would impact the game in some way. There'd be a sound effect or something like that. And so that was the electronic aspect of that, even though it wasn't electronic. You had to provide the electronics, but it had this interactive feature. So when I saw that you sent me that game earlier today and I looked at it, it must have somehow inspired Shrieks and Creeks at least.
What would the tape say?
It depended on where you picked it up, but it would be like, if he's in the middle of speaking, you would ignore it until the next thing, but it would be sort of little commands split up by spooky sound effects. So there'd be this constant like wind blowing and thunder crashing. You can find the tape audio online. It's out there. I think it might be on YouTube. But it would be like, he'd be like, whoever put the key in the thing has to go back 3 spaces or whatever, something to that effect.
So it's like I forget the guy. I should know this off the top of my head. It's like a Haunted Mansion voice or like a Vincent Price voice.
Exactly.
I love this. Riley, this seems like something that you would find and just listen to relax.
Just regularly, yeah, just to calm down.
This one was like, and maybe it wasn't even electronic. It's like a 3D haunted house. Mm-hmm. It's molded and it stands upright like a backdrop. And then there are little doors and your man was a little or a woman or non-binary character was a little peg.
I doubt there were non-binary characters in that game. This thing's from a long time ago.
Yeah. I don't want to genderize the pegs, but you would basically like, I don't even know how to play this game because this was clearly from my mom and my aunt's childhood because this is like from the 60s. Yeah. But the cool thing was like little doors would open to reveal a Wolfman, a Dracula, a Frankenstein's monster. Like it was very, very fun and like one of my earliest tactile memories of something spooky.
I'm looking at the board right now, the sort of the form of it. Do you remember were the things behind the doors able to be changed? Was it randomized somehow?
I don't think so. I think that was the weird thing was it was always where the characters were always where the characters would be. Okay. And again, we kind of made up our own rules because the booklet had been lost. So, my sister would probably know more about this than I do, but I was obsessed with this.
It looks to me, first off, the toy factor of it is really high.
Yes.
Like it's really, really cool. Mm-hmm. I'm thinking it seems a little like a glorified Chutes and Ladders. Although now I'm looking and there's like a gem in one of the doors. This is very cool.
The gem had been lost. We definitely did not have the gem as children.
Hidden jewel in the attic, the thing says. Oh, no, there's some electronic aspect to it. There's a speaker of some sort.
Yeah.
A hooting owl spinner.
The owl was cool. There would be like, it looked like a gravestone with an owl on it. And you would click it to see how many paces you would go. And then, of course, I want to know if you've ever come across this. I don't have this, Riley. I'm putting this link up. There's a Milton Bradley Bigfoot board game from the 70s. The box is amazing. The box is like a group of 70s children with Bigfoot, like a breakfast cereal style mascot Bigfoot.
It's like Harry and the Hendersons drawn from memory.
Yeah. It really is. But look at this. They come with little Bigfoot game pieces. I'm going to put all of this stuff up. Like the Bigfoot game pieces look like something you would get off of a roadside Bigfoot stop.
Yeah. Yeah, the tchotchkes that you would get. There's a German, by the way, if you go to the Board Game Geek link, and I imagine it'll be in the show notes, there's the German version of the Bigfoot game is called Yeti der Schneemensch. And
what does that roughly translate to?
I'm not Schneemensch. Mensch is like dude, right? Guy.
Snow dude.
Snow dude, probably.
Yeah.
The abominable snowman.
Yeah, right.
Snow dude.
But there's like there's like a big footprint in the insert of the game.
Yeah.
That's really it's really cool.
Yeah.
You'll have to see some pictures on the
I'm going to put this all up on the YouTube, and this will all be in the Instagram. So this makes sense. There is just one Bigfoot walking around on the board game, and I'm assuming you encounter him. We have to get our hands a hold of this, Riley.
Mm-hmm. We need this.
We need to play this game, and Rich, you're invited to come play it with us.
I'm in. Well, I've got a game here on the shelf. I'm trying to here we go. That's called, hold on, sorry, I have to move this mini chess set to get to it. That's called Cryptid.
Oh.
And, Cryptid is sort of, it's really neat, actually. It's like the theme is
that was the
stuff.
Exasperated sigh of a man who's explained a million board game rules off the top of his head.
Well,
and it's just like, do they want to hear this? We do. Don't worry, we do.
Well, I don't want you to be disappointed. This game is not necessarily like theme heavy is my point. Like that Bigfoot game and that haunted house game you're looking at, those are theme before mechanics, right?
Yeah.
Whereas Cryptid is mechanics, sort of like the gameplay over theme. So the theme is there. You're looking for a cryptid, but it's more of like a deduction game of like, is it by a lake? Yes or no? And then, that kind of stuff.
So you could play, there's no like major visual aspect to it. It's not like a
correct.
tabletop.
It's a bunch of hexagons or I don't know why I matter. What's the 6-sided one? Not hexagon.
Yeah.
Hexagon
is a
hexagon.
Look at us. We're doing great.
We know our elementary shapes.
It's not a science podcast.
I have to say, anytime I see a honeycomb game board, I'm immediately intimidated. I don't know what's happening.
I get it. The war games from the olden days were often on those kind of honeycomb boards, and they were huge and highly complex and had like multiple terrain rules, and learning the game would take you several hours. So that's probably just built into the human brain now that those hexagons can be a little scary. So I understand it.
Okay. There is a cool modern game. I think we have it. I don't know if it's here. It's not here in the room with me, called Horrific, but it's, I think there are a number of these.
Horrified?
Horrified, yes. And there is a cryptid version that comes with a Mothman. Yes. There's a cryptid version that has Yeti, Mothman, Sheep, Squatch.
I think that one is
Chupacabra.
Horrified American Monsters. Is it that one? Yeah.
Where does this come? How did this all happen?
I like games. This Horrified is the Universal Monsters one. That's my favorite one. It's basically the same game as all the others. It's a cooperative game, but you have the actual Universal monsters. Where does my love of board games come from?
Yeah,
I grew up playing games, loving games. My best friend Matt, with whom I grew up, he was an only child, and my brother was a bit younger than me. So Matt and I really hung out a lot, and we were not the coolest kids in school. So we hung out with each other mostly. And one of our sort of pastimes was to take the Hoyle book of card games and just sort of flip through it and find whatever 2-player game was there and learn it and play it for weeks. And then, change the scoring system. So it was not the first to 100. We would play, have a sleepover and be the first to 100,000, things like just play it all night. So I have always been drawn to them. And then that same friend, Matt, and I, at about the same time, this was in about 2002, found our way to this sort of the modern board gaming world, which, oh boy, okay.
Yep.
You've heard of the Settlers of Catan.
Yes, of course.
I presume. That was sort of the game that like kicked off the modern board game movement. That was in 94, I think. And then slowly it started to pick up. And then I was in Cleveland in grad school, very, very broke, walked by a game store that was going out of business, and they had games at like 80% off. And so I wrote down the names of a few because I couldn't afford to buy many. I knew I could buy one. And I went home, and on, my not proto-internet, but early internet, was looking up these board games and was led to the website Board Game Geek. And I've often described it as, children of alcoholics often, they say, have one of two reactions when they try alcohol the first time. They either become flushed, like an allergic reaction, or they take a drink and they say, oh, that's what was missing the whole time. Finding Board Game Geek for me was like, this is the thing I've been looking for, and I didn't even know about it. And now it's become a big part of my
Did you,
identity.
as a child, turn your nose up at a Nintendo?
No, I liked Nintendo.
Okay, you liked video games.
I'm pro Nintendo.
Okay,
yeah.
Got it. Okay, great,
Yeah.
great. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to talk about the spookiest board game of all time with Mr. Sommer. Okay, Rich. We're easing into the personal paranormal history stuff, going one step deeper.
Okay.
Ouija boards.
Mm-hmm.
The Ouija board. Did you have an Ouija board when you were a kid, and did you have any experiences on it?
Yeah. I mean, I had like sleepovers with people, and I knew that I seem to remember, I know that there have been several iterations of the rules for a Ouija board throughout the years. The one that we had said it's best if it's a male and a female that are sitting.
That sounds like some slumber party antics to me.
Well, that's what I think what the intention is. But Matt and I we didn't have that option. So we would just do
You're like,
do that.
who's wearing the wig tonight?
We just, tapped into our feminine energies.
Yeah.
We're all on a spectrum. We all live on a spectrum. There's no binary, in my opinion. So Matt and I were fine. We did the Ouija board. Here's the thing. Before we ever tried a Ouija board, Matt and I grew up on Penn and Teller. Penn and Teller were like our sort of totems. We really thought they were incredible. We would find VHSs of Penn and Teller specials and watch them. Matt's parents had Showtime. We had like basic cable, but they had the pay channels. So we would tape anytime there was a Penn and Teller special. And I read, they had books. They also recommended, I remember, to read the readings of, and this was important for me, James Randi. And James Randi.
I don't know that name.
The Amazing Randy.
Oh, the
James
Amazing Randy, of course. Yes.
Who is sort of their mentor. And by proxy became sort of my mentor as well, in a way, just through the books. I never met the man, but I certainly read all of his books. And it really guided my thinking as far as becoming a skeptic. But unfortunately, I had read those books before we were sitting with a Ouija board, or I'd at least heard of some of those things before I was sitting down. So yeah, we had experiences. The planchette, the little thing you put your fingers on, moved. But we also were like, wow, isn't physiology amazing that we're moving that thing and it doesn't even feel like we're moving it?
So that's the idea. That's the debunkery, is that you are moving it subconsciously.
Are you asking me?
Yeah. Yes.
How do they work?
I want to hear the skeptics that were what the books were telling you.
That's my opinion. Yes.
Yeah.
And the opinion shared by many in the skeptic community.
Yeah. No, that's fair. Listen. Did I have a ghost named Sean that contacted me multiple times on a Ouija board in high school and said things that I did not know, like I wouldn't even be able to know the answers to? Yes, I did. But it's possible I was just all creating this. I was maybe far more intuitive than I believed.
Listen, let me also be very clear that part of, for me, being a skeptic is also acknowledging that I don't know if I'm allowed to swear in here, but I'll just say
let them fly.
I don't know shit. I mean, I don't really know anything. So to say like that people have not been contacted by a spirit through a Ouija board is not in my purview. I don't get to say that. I can simply say that I don't feel as though I've had that experience. Yeah. But when someone firmly believes that they have, wow, who am I to argue with them? I don't, you know what I mean?
I think that's fair. I mean, as much as we love the stories on this show, I think we ultimately remain agnostic to this stuff. Mm-hmm. And there were definitely times where Riley and I are both in agreement on like, this seems like maybe not supernatural,
Mm-hmm.
But we also come across the things where we're like, I don't know. This seems to happen and we don't know why.
Yeah.
Were you so you painted a very good picture of the type of, I'm going to go ahead and say nerd you were growing up. I was a comic book, or geek, I should say. I was a comic book geek. I was, fantasy sci-fi geek. And I feel like based on what you've said, you were like on the other side of the toy aisle, getting board games while I was collecting action figures. And maybe that's still happening today.
For both of us.
For both of us, exactly. But I'm wondering, like, where was the supernatural in your childhood? Did UFOs capture your imagination? Did hauntings, Bigfoot, any of this stuff ever grab you?
Yeah, it all grabbed me. I mean, I was a big library goer growing up. I spent a lot of time at the Stillwater Public Library in Stillwater, Minnesota. And I checked out every book that caught my fancy. And among those were things like books on cryptids, books on sightings, books on witches, spells, books. I loved that stuff. And it's a lot like how I feel about other aspects of life. I always and still sort of wish them to be real.
Mm-hmm.
I can't, my gut is that they're not, but also I wish for them to be. I don't see any reason not to. I mean, I watched the Alien Autopsy thing.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't imagine. I don't remember how old. I mean, I had to be maybe 12, 13, and I have no idea how we got our hands on it, but it was
I'll tell you how. Fox Network aired it. It was like a big special on like network television.
Okay. So then someone, whether I saw it live or someone taped it off of the TV, it made the rounds. And I remember talking to people at school about it, and that for a moment, I think I was like, boy, that sure looked real. Who am I to say it's not real? I wasn't in the room. I've since come to a different conclusion, but yes. I did.
It's safe to say that's not real.
Yeah. But I was certainly entranced by it. I remember seeing the book Communion on the shelf at the grocery store. Dude. And when it was, everywhere. And of course it was something that I got caught up in as well.
Well, let's talk about that for a moment, because I do think that if you're a kid of a certain age, growing up in the mid to late 80s and 90s, I was born in 78, so I'll date myself. Same. Okay, great. I had a suspicion that you and I were the same age. Mm-hmm. That coming across the Communion cover was like a moment that all of us remember. Like, where were you when you discovered the Communion book jacket cover, and how much did it scare you?
I say specifically, I was at the grocery store because it was, at a time where paperbacks were on the end caps of the big selling paperbacks, because we didn't have phones. We didn't have, you didn't have TV on demand. You had whatever was available to you, and paperbacks were huge. And Communion was a giant seller. And I remember staring at it in line at the grocery store, and yes, being freaked out, being like, that's what they look like.
Yep.
And now being much older and understanding that whomever drew that cover effectively prescribed what we would think of aliens looking like for maybe ever. I mean, only recently does it feel like they're starting to kind of break out of, it went like Marvin the Martian, the Communion cover, and the Communion cover has sort of stuck. I mean, it's really what we still think of, the gray, the sort of almond eyes. And that's what we picture when we see aliens or think of aliens.
100%. And I would also say that, like, Steven Spielberg, Close Encounters of the Third Kind helped ease us out into that transition as well.
Absolutely.
It is funny how we all collectively decide, like, this is what it is. Like Bigfoot, everyone's kind of collectively decided this is what Bigfoot looks like. And now everyone's collectively decided these are what aliens look like.
Yeah.
Which is wild, because the more you get into these stories that we've done over the past almost 8 years now, Riley?
Yeah.
Like,
wow.
There is a much larger menagerie of aliens out there that people have claimed to run into. For example, I don't know if you know, being from Minnesota, have you heard about the walking tin cans?
I don't know that I have.
There's a story that comes from a book by John Keel where he collected a story about a salesman that was driving home one night in Minnesota. I'll have to Google what town it was exactly, but it was in the middle of, like, there were cornfields around.
That's a lot of Minnesota.
And at the middle of the night, and his car beams hit what looks to be a, like, old school Looney Tunes Marvin the Martian rocket just sitting in the middle of the road. And he's got his high beams glaring at this thing. He gets out of the car and he looks down and he sees what look like tin cans with legs walking around the base of this miniature rocket, and they all get into it, and then the rocket takes off. I mean, what do you make of this? The only thing that corroborates the story is that there were farmers that lived nearby that said that they saw a strange beam of light shoot off into the night sky on the same night around the same time. But we have alien grays. We also have walking tin cans.
So it's a spectrum
of Minnesota. Yeah,
it's a spectrum.
Yeah,
and we can't presume, if we presume that there is extraterrestrial life, which, again, even as a person who's skeptical, I believe that science requires that there is some sort of life outside of Earth, right? How developed it is, I don't know. How intelligent it is, I don't know. But I would also allow for the likelihood that should the gray aliens exist, there's no reason to believe it's only we humans and those gray aliens that exist as far as intelligent extraterrestrial life. So why not tin cans?
Yeah.
Why not whatever the hell you can imagine?
I think those are tiny little robots that were just, sent here as a probe.
Emissary.
Yeah,
Just
emissary.
checking it out.
I also have a theory, this might be a little too out there, Rich, stop me, that maybe they aren't aliens at all, but there's some sort of, like, representation of, how, like, we used to have, like, gods of agriculture and nature spirits? Because as I was researching that story, I realized that a lot of our canned goods, like the Jolly Green Giant and canned corn, all come from Minnesota. So perhaps what this man was seeing in the 60s was a evolution of the nature spirit of, the corn gods or the green bean gods, the green bean spirits. But now they're appearing as the modern version of themselves as cans.
That is grim.
Totally tracks as far as I'm concerned.
How dare you?
I agree.
Thank you. All right, we're going to take a break. We're going to come back. We're going to play a game with Rich Sommer.
Yay.
All right, Riley, do you have a 5-star review queued up?
I do. I just can't shake the Minnesota can gods from my head. All right.
Okay, here we go. Riley, before we drop in, why don't we nominate a 5-star Club Scout of the Week? This is a listener of the show, Rich, who's done us the favor of giving us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts,
very
so
nice.
more people can find the show.
Well, this is from Ethan O'Lilia, and the subject is Best Podcast of All Time. Nice.
Whoa.
And the review is as follows. Bigfoots are awesome. If I could give this 1 million stars, I would. And Riley for president. Oh, boy.
Okay.
Hey, I'll take it. These days, I'll take it.
Please.
Yeah, I couldn't do worse. I'll tell you that much.
Also, Rich, I know you have have had a podcast, so apologies that we're better than yours.
Oh, no. The fact that yours went more than the 3 or 4 months that mine went shows that yours is better.
But it's about, remind us all, it's a board game podcast.
It was about. I actually had 2 iterations of my podcast. One did go a little longer than a few months, but they were both called Cardboard with Rich Sommer.
Yeah.
The first one was through a subsidiary of what was then Earwolf Podcast, and it was a very highly produced podcast with music and things like that. And that I did 9 episodes, and then it truly almost killed me. I mean, it was just way too much work.
Yep.
And no fault of theirs.
Nope.
They told me over and over, don't take this all on yourself. And I kept saying, no, I can handle it. And they were right and I was wrong. But the other iteration of the podcast was really fun. And I still think about often trying to fire it up again, but it was simply, I did no advertising. There was no regularity to the releases. It wasn't like once a week. It was whenever I felt like it. I hit a switch. I sent out a tweet. This dates it. I sent out a tweet that basically said, hey, the podcast is live. And it was like a radio show. So people would call a phone number. I would talk to them, and it was just talking about board games or conversations sort of like this, where board games were the jumping off point to learning about their lives. And that one was really fun. They were both enjoyable in their own way, but that one didn't almost kill me, the phone call one. I just got to a point where, I didn't want to do it anymore.
Oh, fair enough. That's
Been
you
there.
know what? That's what comes for every podcast host eventually.
That's right.
Sooner or later, you just go, I'm done. Okay, we're going to play a game that we play with all of our guests. Now, this is not a board game, but you can use your imagination.
Okay.
I'm going to go down a list of phenomena, rapid fire.
Oh, boy.
Okay. Now, I'm going to ask you to open your mind just a little bit, Rich. Okay? If you're open to the specific phenomena, you're just going to go ahead and say, believe it. If you're not open to it, there's no way in hell you just say bullshit. Okay? Those are your two options. We can come back at the end of the list and relitigate any one of these if you want to.
I'm intrigued to find if there's any that I'm 100% not open to. Because I'm kind of, I do have a semi-open, even though I don't necessarily believe in these things. Again, I allow for the possibility.
Now, this is, we usually, most of the time on this podcast, we stay in the realm of agnosticism, but for this game, you got to decide. Understand?
I'll do my best.
Rich Sommer, on your mark, get set, ghosts.
Bullshit. Fuck. I've already flown it.
Bigfoot.
Bullshit. I don't know.
Never mind. UFOs.
Believe it.
Mothman.
Bullshit.
ESP.
Bullshit.
Chupacabra.
Bullshit.
The Abominable Snowman.
Bullshit.
Ouija boards.
Bullshit. I hate this. I'm trying to be open.
Hang with me. The Loveland Frogman.
The what?
Loveland, Ohio, in the late 60s, 70s, they people saw a large frog-like man who carried a wand.
He had a wand?
He had a wand.
Believe it.
The Hopkinsville Goblins. Have you heard about this case?
No.
Okay.
Hillbillies, shootout, goblins.
In Kentucky, they a whole family basically sees gremlins after witnessing a UFO, like creatures poking their head in the window and they're shooting at them.
Let me ask you this before I know we're rapid fire, but I have to just pause for 1 second.
Yeah.
If I believe that this family shot at something, that whatever they interpreted it as, that there was a thing that they shot at, that they saw and shot at, would I say believe it?
Yeah, you can.
Okay,
yeah.
Believe it.
Okay, great. Skunk ape.
Yeah, but like the guy Skunkor in Marvel
Masters of the Universe.
Masters of the Universe.
Okay, now you're talking my language.
That's one of the guys I had, so I'll say believe it.
Great.
Smell great.
Where were we? Hollow Earth.
Oh God, bullshit.
The Loch Ness Monster.
I don't. God, this is painful. I want to be fun and cool and whatever. Look,
you're being fun. Don't worry.
Okay, fine. Believe it.
Crystal balls.
Bullshit.
The Beast of Bosco. Big turtle. Big like
Big
alligator
turtle.
snapping turtle. Big
Like the turtle in It.
Smaller than the turtle.
Smaller than that. But
Smaller than
than
a car. Bigger than a wheelbarrow.
Believe it.
Out of body experiences.
I wish there was nuance here. I guess I'll say the very real experience of feeling like you're outside of your body. Believe it.
The Michigan Dog Man.
Probably bullshit.
Tarot cards.
Bullshit.
Wendigos. A Minnesota cryptid, by the way.
I know. I do remember some campfire story. Oh, I have one campfire story, but I'll say don't believe bullshit.
Life on other planets.
Believe.
life after death?
It
can be your interpretation.
Yeah. I read a really good book.
Okay.
And I'm trying to remember the name of it off the top of my head. It was written by the son of a physicist. And it's In My Time of Dying, I believe it's called. Sebastian Junger.
I've heard of this book.
And he gives a fairly concrete case for the possibility of some type of existence beyond this one that I believe is possible.
Okay. So that's a
believe.
All right. Well done, Rich. You got through it. You're alive.
Whew. That I'm sweating. I don't know if you can see that. I am pouring sweat.
It is interesting to see that some people like really sweat under this game.
It's intense.
Yeah. It's intense. It can be an intense one. What's the campfire story involving Wendigos?
Well, it isn't Wendigo.
Okay,
there were campfire stories about the chupacabra and the Wendigos. I mean, I heard them, but this was simply when I went to Boy Scout camp, when I was in, God, was I in 7th grade? It's possible. I'm embarrassed to say I was in 7th grade because of what we have to remember that 7th graders are just little boys. They're just little boys.
I was still actively playing, not just collecting with Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles in 7th grade. So it's okay.
When we went to Boy Scout camp, two momentous things happened. One was I tried smoking for the first time, but let me tell you what we smoked because nobody had any cigarettes or anything. So the theme of these two stories is that big kids ruin everything. The big kids were like, no, this is cool. This is what you smoke. It was a piece of notebook paper as the rolling paper, a full piece of notebook paper. Oh. A length of twine, like a thin rope set across, and then sprinkled with grass. Not the good kind, just grass.
Just grass.
Then rolled up and tied in 3 points with more twine. And I was like, you smoked this? And they were like, yeah. I was like, okay. And I tried it. And I obviously inhaling burning rope and paper, thought I was going to die.
Yeah.
These same gentle souls told me the story of Crazy Charlie. And Crazy Charlie was the camp cook, apparently. And he had, of course, murdered several campers. And they told this with such an earnestness. And they said, you can see where he's been because his footprints glow in the dark. Now, I have still to this day not seen this wood in the wild, but I've looked it up. It does exist. There's this phosphorescent wood, bark that when it falls off the tree, it glows. And they took us out and you could see the glowing wood all through. And they were like, oh, he's been all over the place. And I was like, bah! And I slept on the floor of their cabin that night, the bigger kids. I was sobbing. Could not sleep with the younger guys. Had to sleep with the cool, kind, protective big guys who had tried to kill me lung-wise already in the day, and then tried to convince me, no, Crazy Charlie's just a story. And I was like, bullshit. I saw the footprints out there.
It was so terrifying. I mean, it's terrifying. I would have been scared too, believe me, but that's so fun. You know, and you have to think that, like, also, like, that's a type of, like, folklore that must have been handed down for generations before people understood that the bark, you know, glowed in the dark.
Yeah, right. It's some chemical reaction that happens when it falls off the thing. But look, oh boy, that's a long conversation, but you could get into why so many things are just explanations for a thing that we don't have an explanation for yet.
Totally.
Yes.
You know, that would explain, I don't know, 90% of the wars we've fought on this planet.
Well, there's that
all the time.
Yeah. And also, if we're just going to like shrink it down to this topic, like I truly believe that a lot of the stuff that we call ghosts or UFOs, we will understand one day, and they will have a possibly less supernatural definition to them. You know, it's just all going to fall within the realm of science, because if it exists, it would anyway. You know what I mean?
That's right.
Why don't we break here? We come back. It'll be time for this week's story of high strangeness, and then I'm going to offer a couple more local legends into into your brain, I guess. That's what I want to say.
That's where they go.
Yeah. All right.
We'll be right back.
Okay, Rich. So I was fumbling a little bit as we cut to break for words because while I was talking, I was trying to find a link that I found while researching this week's story about local legends in Stillwater, Minnesota.
Oh my goodness!
I did a little sleuthing.
It's my hometown.
I found out that was your hometown. But they had a couple. The Crazy Charlie thing reminded me that they had there was a local eccentric lady named a Leaping Linda or a Limping Linda. Do you know about her?
That name is ringing a bell, but it is a long rusted and dented bell. I don't remember, but Leaping Linda sounds like it's ringing a bell.
She was just like a local lady that obviously I think needed medication and maybe some therapy, but everyone took care of her in town and they all loved her. But she would walk out into the street swearing and she jumped a lot. So they would call her Leaping Linda.
Did you come upon Buster at all?
Yes. I was just about to bring up Buster.
Okay, wild.
Why don't you tell us who Buster is?
So Buster was a dude who...
Buster sounds awesome.
He was, if I'm not mistaken, he was a local, like a long-standing local. I mean, this is me. So you have information on Buster. This is very exciting to me.
In my head, I couldn't find the link that I had, the article I had about him.
Okay, so I just wondered if you'll be able to corroborate any of my memory. I mean, this is me reaching back 30, 40 almost years ago. But Buster was a guy, he was always kitted out in like winter clothes, big time winter clothes. Like no matter what time of year it was, he had like a coat, a scarf all the way around his mouth and nose, and his hood was up. And he usually carried a baseball bat. And of course, you know, like the next door neighbor in Home Alone, it was sort of like, I heard Buster's out today. You know, there was sort of lore about him, and it was scary. Like there were stories that he had done all these things. But my friend Matt, aforementioned, his dad, Todd, said, I know Buster. He's fine. He's just a little, you know, he's just maybe, like you said, maybe probably could have used some medication or something. Yeah. You don't have to be scared of Buster. And if I'm not mistaken, at some point, Matt like talked to Buster and they had a conversation, which is not something I ever did. I mean, if you saw Buster, I like crossed the street. I mean, the worst, you know, whatever. I didn't understand.
Yeah, you're a kid.
All I knew is there was a guy with padding on basically and a baseball bat, always sort of muttering and walking down the streets of downtown Stillwater.
Well, and what I had read was that they called him Buster because he used to walk around busting up stop signs, punching them or hitting them with the bat.
I believe it.
That was like his thing. He liked to hit road signs with it. That's why they called him Buster.
Wait, so his name wasn't Buster?
It was his nickname. He had like a real name. That's what I was trying to find. It was like Bob something, and they called him Buster because he busted stuff up.
I love that you found some lore about Buster. That's crazy. I haven't thought of him in a while.
It was, I'll find it before we sign off. And
as soon as you mentioned sort of local legends, Buster popped right into my head. Because he was a guy that everybody knew of Buster, you know.
And then there was Limpin' Linda as well. All right. Well, let's get into this week's story of high strangeness that takes place about a 4-hour drive from Stillwater, Minnesota. And it begins in Washburn Lake, Minnesota, 2008. A man hauling lumber on his way home from Crosby suddenly encounters a massive figure stepping into the road. It was big and hairy, with hands resembling baseball mitts. The creature took 3 swift strides across the road before vanishing from sight, leaving the driver stunned and speechless. This encounter is just one of many Bigfoot sightings reported in Minnesota during the mid-2000s. However, the legend of Bigfoot or a similar creature is not new to the area. Sightings have been documented in the land of 10,000 lakes for decades. One town in particular, Vergas, claims that a Sasquatch-like creature has inhabited the area for years. Another town, Remer, is that how it's pronounced? Remer?
I think it's Remer. I think it's Remer.
Remer also proclaims to be the home of Bigfoot. In honor of our guest this week, it's time to pay tribute to the hairy man of Vergas of the Vergas Trails, Minnesota's elusive Bigfoot. In 2009, during a surge of Bigfoot activity, a family of deer hunters, Tim Kudrowski and his sons, Casey and Peter, gained attention when they captured what appeared to be a hairy figure walking through the woods in a trail cam photo near their hunting shack in Reamer, Minnesota. The blurry image shows the figure gliding through the autumn trees at night, its back and head turned towards camera. Though inconclusive, the Kudrowski brothers assert that nobody knew where the trail camera was set up. Judging by the height of the tree next to the figure, they estimated that whatever it was stood about 7 feet tall. Casey told local news reporters,
"We all kind of had the idea in the back of our minds, but we didn't want to go and say Bigfoot because I never seen one."
Now, let's take a look at this photo here. This is another thing that I meant to send you before the show started, so I'm going to... I can't drop this in the chat, can I?
I don't know.
Okay, well, I'm going to email this to Rich.
Okay.
Real time, everybody. Real time.
Real
This is how
time,
we do
everybody.
it.
Now, while I'm doing this, Rich, have you ever heard of any of these Minnesota big men, specifically the Vergas Trail hairy man?
Well, it's funny. I hadn't until... one thing I've been remiss is I haven't mentioned yet that I did a movie in Minnesota last October.
Okay.
And the title of the movie is Bigfoot Woods. And oh boy,
Richard!
I know. I'm sorry.
What are you doing?
Well, let me explain.
What are we even doing here?
The movie takes place in the fictional Minnesota town of Steamer, Minnesota, which is very directly based on Reamer.
Reamer. Okay.
And I'll just say that it is basically it's a dad and his kid who have a sort of a YouTube show that they do together in this very small town just for fun. And they accidentally catch what may be a Bigfoot sighting. Much like these guys on the trail cam. In fact, it's swinging through the trees in the exact same way. I believe I'm looking.
Now, take a look at this photo.
I'm looking at that photo.
Yeah.
I should email you a photo that we took during our filming that is made basically to replicate this
is
photo.
insane.
Amazing.
This is what we call synchronicity, Rich.
It is. But I will also tell you this, that Bigfoot Woods, the movie, is not, it is about Bigfoot, but it is more about a
father just rediscovering his love for his son.
Well, actually, his daughter, with whom he makes the videos, announces that she is going to transition.
Okay.
Into his son, and it is about a small town that basically has an easier time grappling with the idea of an imaginary monster than it does with the idea of someone going through a transition. I
love this because this has been actually, Rich, a philosophy embedded in the DNA of our show since the get-go of like, if you can keep your mind open to these things, keep your mind open to all the different types of people that live on this earth.
Yeah, exactly.
You know? I love that. I cannot wait to see that movie.
Same.
So let's take Riley, take a look at this picture here.
Oh, I'm looking.
It's a color trail cam photo, which we don't see often.
How is this from 2008 and it still looks like it's from 1996?
I know, but it's a trail cam. You know what I mean? You know?
There's a reason, maybe. I don't know. Who knows?
Who knows?
Can't say.
We can't really say. But we definitely see like what looks like a figure, a blurry figure walking through the trees. Mm-hmm. That's what it looks like. It's pretty, like, we can't definitively say, like most of these pictures, that this is a Sasquatch. Right. But I'll tell you what happens next. Their father, Tim, contacted two gentlemen, Don Sherman and Bob Olson of the Northern Minnesota Bigfoot Research Team, to investigate the photo and the area. I'm just going to sidebar here and say, if you were born with the name Don Sherman or Bob Olson, you are becoming a Bigfoot hunter when you grow up.
It has been assigned by your name.
Yes. While they couldn't provide conclusive evidence of a Sasquatch in Reamer's woodlands, they noted it wasn't a bear. That's what they decided. This is not a bear. Interestingly, yeah, I'd say
We're narrowing it down.
Yeah, they spoke to 2 other hunters who were out that night, claiming to have heard strange squealing noises and screams from a location coincidentally near the trail cam's position. Now, Don and Bob are likely familiar with what could be considered Minnesota's most favorite Bigfoot, or most famous and possibly famous, the hairy man of the Vergas trails. Located about a 2-hour drive southwest of Reamer, this place has been home to this elusive hairy hominid for decades. Known as the Hairy Man, this local legend is described as an 8-foot-tall, scraggly-haired beast that walks on 2 legs, exudes a rank, musty odor, and is barefoot even in winter. That's what everyone keeps saying. I can't believe it was barefoot. It's like, well, if Bigfoot's always barefoot, when is Bigfoot ever wearing shoes?
That's kind of part of the deal with Bigfoot.
Yeah, it's iconically the thing about Bigfoot. He does not wear shoes.
I can upload this picture for you, but that's from our movie.
That's
oh my God,
very
that's
fun.
amazing.
Basically the
It's basically the same photo.
Yeah,
It is.
yeah.
Wow. I cannot believe this. This is thrilling.
Yeah.
So the Hairy Man's territory encompasses the deep woods of Vergas, a rural area only accessible by service roads, and the roads are referred to as the trails. Interestingly, Vergas is also known for additional supernatural activity, including reports of malevolent white-hooded cults chasing cars, floating torso shadow beings, and the ghost of a little girl who drowned in a lake called Crystal Lake. I even read online that some people think that this area was the inspiration for Jason Voorhees and Friday the 13th, although that cannot be corroborated. And also, I think that was Cropsey on the East Coast. But anyway, it all folds into the local lore. Now, depending on which version of the legend you follow, the hairy man is either seen as an ape-like creature or a crazed hermit abandoned by his family as a child. Most stories converge on the belief that the hairy man resides in and around a dilapidated farm shack from the 1940s known as Old Man Bunyan's Cabin.
OMBC, man.
You know where I'll be chilling. Stories of the hairy man began to emerge in the 1960s, though no one seems to recall the legend's origin. Activity peaked during the 1970s when several local residents claimed to have encountered the creature. A man named Ken Zitzow, a lifelong resident of Vergas, came home one night from the Vergas trails in a state of shock, insisting that a big, hairy monster had jumped onto the hood of his car, banging against the vehicle with his fists. The evidence? Ken's hood was deeply dented. I mean, come on.
And he said so.
The other thing about this is they talk about how Ken would go out to the Vergas trails a lot. And I'm like, maybe Ken was part of this cult that's hanging out and running around
with the white hoods.
Yeah, the white-hooded cult is a little suspect.
Yeah, I would say.
Yeah, I think a lot of people have seen that out in the woods, and it's not great.
Not paranormal.
No, not
scary.
good.
Yeah.
Another Vergas resident, Rob Barnett, claimed a giant hairy beast tried to push his 1973 Chevy Malibu into a ditch. Rob wasn't sure what it was, but he was adamant it was no hermit. I also like that this might just be excuses that these men have had for like banging up their car while driving
how many
home from the bar.
insurance claims are in Vergas?
Yeah. The hairy man did it. I was sober, I swear.
Yeah.
Then there's Cheryl Hansen, who, as a teenager in 1972, was out snowmobiling with her cousin Jolyn when they spotted the hairy man off the Vergas trails. The girls were circling an old cabin off Country Road 130. Are you familiar with Country Road 130?
No, but is it by Old Man Bunyan's cabin?
9 miles from Old Man Bunyan's. There is a cabin. It's not the same one.
Okay.
I made a note of that. Now, according to Cheryl,
We were snowmobiling around and around this old cabin we found, and all of a sudden a beast-like creature popped out of the cabin holding a huge stick. It had a very broad shoulders, and I was trying to rationalize what it was, but what really stood out to me is it was barefoot in the snow. We took off fast and went back to tell the adults.
Cheryl's family still owns the property where she encountered the creature that fateful winter afternoon.
I still to this day can't drive out there at night alone. The family still has campfires out there, but none of us wander out into the woods alone.
Sightings of the creature declined in the 1980s, but interest in the legend surged in 2012 when photos of a mysterious skull went viral. Everyone check your emails and check the Instagram.
Yeah, I saw that.
It began when Kim Doyle, a Vergas resident, was shown a peculiar skull. Excuse me.
A peculiar.
It's the Vergas is making me, because Vergas sounds like Vegas, but saying Vergas. So I'm now putting intrusive R's in next to all my vowels.
Your skirl.
Yeah, was shown a peculiar skull in her diner by an anonymous patron who claimed it had been found in the Vergas trails and kept in his family for years. The skull appeared old, dirt-covered, and mossy, with some vertebrae hanging from the base and a few yellow teeth visible. Yes, I know, Rich. It looked almost man-made, raising countless questions. And since the owner has
it raises one question.
Who made this?
Yeah.
Since the owner has never had it tested, we might consider it a hoax, or at the very least, a strange artifact. Let's talk about this skull. This is 100% not real.
100%. There are all those relics, in like if you go to Italy and every church you go into says, I got a piece of a thing and a guy's fingernail.
I got this dude's finger bone.
Yeah, there's the nasal cartilage of this lady or whatever. I really truly believe a very large portion of those are much like this skull, perhaps created from whole cloth. That skull doesn't, whoever made it's before pictures of skulls were available in books. It's before they disseminated Da Vinci's notebooks so you could see what a skull looked like. Yeah. It's just like, I wonder what it looks like under that skin. Maybe this, and then that's what that skull is.
There was a very gracious biologist who was interviewed in the local news story that I found about this skull who was like, well, I can't tell from a photo alone, but it's definitely not a human skull. I would need to get a hold of this to test, but I like that
you're inferring the pitch of their voice from the words.
Yes.
I mean, it's definitely not a human skull.
Now, could it be a Bigfoot skull? It's just really trying not to spoil the fun human interest story.
Mm-hmm. Also, the best way to enter something into the scientific record is definitely bring it to your local diner.
Yes. And then not let anyone hold it.
Let anyone see it further. Yeah.
However, just because the skull is fake, that doesn't mean that the hairy man isn't real, Rich.
Absolutely. No, I agree.
At the very least, the spirit of Bigfoot is alive and well in Minnesota. Reamer, the town where the trail cam photo was taken, has declared itself the home of Bigfoot. Mm-hmm. Visitors can fuel up and grab snacks at the Bigfoot Gas and Gifts, stop by the Woodsman Cafe to indulge in a Bigfoot burger or Bigfoot hash browns. I love the idea of Bigfoot hash browns.
I love that the way they make them Bigfoot themed is to call them Bigfoot blank.
Yeah.
We got the Bigfoot burger. Comes with a Bigfoot Coke and Bigfoot fries, and then a Bigfoot sundae at the end.
You don't understand. This would 100% get my money. That's all you need to do. Since 2016, the town has held the annual Bigfoot Days Festival, which attracts thousands of visitors who participate in the Bigfoot Olympics and share their encounter stories with each other. This year, I urge all residents of Reamer to keep an eye out for any hairy visitors who aren't wearing shoes. And there you have it, Minnesota's Bigfoot, a.k.a. the hairy man of the Vergas Trails, Rich.
Excellent.
A little piece of local lore from the land you grew up in.
I know some of the crew on a weekend made it down to Reamer just to see. I mean, it was an hour. We filmed in Ely, Minnesota, which is way up north. It's on the Boundary Waters. And I did not go down to Reamer, but there were photographs of all of those places. And then we, on our shoot, sort of recreated some of the sign to enter steamer had a big cutout of Bigfoot, and we had a Bigfoot diner and things like that. Look, I love a theme. And I love there was this terrible chain restaurant that popped up when I was in college. I went to college in Moorhead, Minnesota, which is right across the Red River from Fargo, North Dakota. I mean, it's a very, small towns up there, 4 hours north of the Twin Cities. And, God, what was it called? I found out it was in other states as well. It was an alien themed diner.
Fun.
And it basically, like, you went in, it was sort of like, when Planet Hollywood was really Planet Hollywood, and you'd see all that kitsch everywhere. It was like that, but for aliens. And it truly was like...
When Planet Hollywood was really Planet Hollywood and men were really men.
Hey, you've been with Planet Hollywood lately? It's like they got a jacket over there and like a picture of Schwarzenegger. That's it.
No.
None of the true memorabilia like we had.
How was the food at the alien place? So
bad. But the theme was delightful. It was like green ketchup and the whole thing, like a hot sauce that had a little guy on it. It was fun. The whole place was, I think it was called Space Aliens. Now that I think about it, I think it was just called Space Aliens, and it was a big like UFO shaped joint. It was great. And there was one just outside of Fargo, and then I know there was another one somewhere in North Dakota. We came across one, but it was that was fun. I love a themed place. I would go to Reamer, absolutely, and do all the 100%. Bigfoot stuff. I'm into it. I'm into.
Space Aliens Bar and Grill. Yeah,
See, is it still? It cannot be operated.
It's still here.
No way. It survived COVID.
Wild.
Yeah.
It definitely survived COVID. Nobody gave a shit. They all went there for sure.
Man.
It stayed open the whole time.
Also, this is old because they locked in the URL spacealiens.com.
Right? Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's getting the Gmail address with just your name. That's the thing. I mean, it's that's rare.
Wow. I'm trying to find Buster's real name. When I find it, I'll send it to you, Rich.
Please do. Yes, please.
I can't find it in my timeline here.
We could at least honor him. I can honor him by learning what his name was.
Yes.
There's one in Fargo, one in Bismarck, and one in Albertville, Minnesota.
Okay.
Oh, it's a chain.
I may have been to all three of those. It's possible I've been to every space. Yeah. My girlfriend, my college girlfriend and I, we would see it and be like, "You want to go to Space Aliens?" Like we went there many times.
Oh my Lord. A quick Googs gave me this news from June 11th, 2015. Local Stillwater legend Buster Lassen dies at age 87.
Oh, R.I.P. Buster.
There's a picture of Buster.
Wait a minute. He was 87 in 2015.
Yeah. Stanford Eugene Lassen, more commonly known as Buster, died at age 87, June 10th at the Golden Living Center on Creeley Street. Wow.
Creeley or Greeley?
They say Creeley.
Let me see. Be a typo.
Greeley. Sorry.
That's all right.
It's being blocked. I shouldn't have questioned it. Yeah. Here's some quotes about Buster as we sign. I know you got to go, but just before you leave, in my mind, Buster represents the last of the more colorful people we've had in Stillwater, said Niall Crissell, a Stillwater native and former city administrator. Growing up in Stillwater, we had a variety of people who brightened our lives, and Buster was one of them. Somebody else says he would scare the living daylights out of people. A lot of us look for the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow, but he enjoyed the rainbow, said Gary Crissell. Well, there we go. A little tribute to Buster.
I don't know what the hell Gary's talking about, but it's a nice thing to say about someone.
Yeah. Being, a lot of people
vague, positive.
Look for the gold at the pot of the, but Buster, he enjoyed the rainbow.
He was just all rainbow all day.
He was just rainbow all day. Rich Sommer, thank you so much for joining us. This was a gosh darn delight.
A delight.
Loved it. Thank you for having me.
When is this movie going to come out? Do you know?
I don't know. They're still working on it. It's it's not going to be like a big. It's an independent film, but I also I don't know. I hope it. If no one finds it except for the people who need to find it, that will make me happy.
Which is everybody on this podcast. So we're going to let everybody
on this podcast. But it's one of those things like the idea. It's inspired the guy who wrote it with his son.
I love it.
And it was based on some of the experiences that they went through. Wow. And when they were going through their experiences, they looked for a movie like this and couldn't find it. Every movie that dealt with the issues they were dealing with ended in tragedy. And so the notion was to just make a movie that's there for someone to find that has a happy ending.
I love it.
That's a spoiler. It has a happy ending, but I'm pretty sure that's going to be part of our point with it, is that it doesn't end in tragedy. So it's I'm excited for it to make its way out.
Bigfoot doesn't eat the kid in this storyline.
Unless
maybe
there's
some massive
Final cut.
Yes. Well, let us know when it's eventually released, and we'll make sure that our listeners know how to find it, Rich. Anything else you want to plug before we bounce out?
Nope.
Okay, great.
Nice.
We love you, Rich. Thanks so much for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Thank
man.
you. Rich Sommer, everybody. What a great guy.
What an absolute delight he is.
A true delight. He told me, he warned me, he's like, I'm a bit of a skeptic and I don't have any real stories to share. I'm like, don't worry, we'll figure it out. And then we didn't have to figure anything out.
No, there's no figuring.
There's no figuring out. You know what? Rich would brighten up any like boring, cocktail party. You know what I mean?
For sure. Yeah.
Great guy.
Also, man, I'm a big fan of his. His performance in Mad Men is pitch perfect.
He's great.
Oh,
he's great. Harry.
So good.
He's really lovely. I very much look up to him as a performer, and he's just a good guy. And I'm glad I actually got to have a real conversation with him.
I'm so curious about these voicemails that you guys are leaving.
No one will ever know. They'll never know.
I accept it.
Only me, Rich, and Rich's wife.
I accept the mystery.
All right. Before we head over to Collector's Corner, Riley, why don't we give a big thanks to our listeners, especially our friends who recently joined us over at BCC The Other Side, the Parallel Dimension Bigfoot Collectors Club. Let's do some Patreon shout-outs.
All right.
Michael Castillo, Cosmeteer.
Thank you, Michael. Welcome.
Gordon Steinberg.
Thank you, Gordon.
Ivy, Cosmeteer.
Thank you, Ivy. Welcome to the ranks.
Jathan T.
Thank you, Jathan.
Jathan T sounds like like a Jason Statham guy. Jathan.
Yeah, he sounds cool.
He sounds cool. Deborah, Cosmeteer.
Deborah, thank you. Welcome.
If you're listening or watching, I want to let you know, and Riley will back me up on this, that you can join us over at patreon.com/Bigfoot Collectors Club, where you'll unlock total access to BCC. You get 3 bonus episodes every month. You get access to the BCC Discord. We're throwing in little bonuses left and right. You can upgrade to the Cosmeteer membership for ad-free main episodes and exclusive music tracks from the non-Perel neuromancer of musical notation and mystic arts himself, Mr. Riley Bray.
That's right. And I'm dropping, or probably have dropped by now, the scores to Jim Sparks.
Yes.
And the what is it, Jim Sparks and the UFO people? What do we call that?
And the Star People.
The Star People, of course.
Remember,
yes.
we're creating new bands over here. We've got
exactly.
Gary Wilcox, the Gary Wilcox UFO Encounter, which I was thinking the other night, I think we might tweak the name to be the Gary Wilcox UFO Experience.
Stronger.
But Jim Sparks and the Star People,
Jim Sparks and the Star People is perfect, yeah. And those 2 scores I was really happy with. I did one on a grand piano and one with a baritone guitar through this wild processor thing that spaced it all out. And
we got
those
lots of requests to get that cosmic track out there. So
they're coming, if not already posted by the time this is live.
People are psyched. Also, I'm going to see if I can find that archival footage of Jim Sparks and Star People playing at Tomorrowland on opening day of Disneyland. I think it happened. Let me see if I can dig up that footage. All right, let's stop by Collector's Corner before we head out. What are you reading, watching, consuming, collecting, or is there anything you want to plug right now, Riley?
I'd like to plug something that is not mine, but
great. I love that
I'm really into. So my friends that are in the band Jungle, you may have heard me talk about on the other side, if you're over there, that I've been doing some visuals for their DJ sets lately, and they're old friends. And that band also incredible. Look up Jungle, listen to it. It's like futuristic space disco kind of neo soul. It's amazing. It's so good. But 2 of them have this new band that is called Loaded Honey, and they've released a couple singles. One of them was sampled by The Weeknd, actually, which is pretty cool. But it's this new thing. I shot some BTS on their they shot a whole sort of short film of music videos for this album that's coming out, all shot on film. All these one take shots are incredible. I shot BTS on that, but they've just started releasing the videos and the new songs. So they're going to be rolling out leading up to the album releasing this year. But just go follow Loaded Honey. Check out the videos that have come out so far. It's your favorite new band. I'm telling you. Just go check out Loaded Honey. You will love it.
I love this. I'm gonna go check them out as soon as we get off this record. I don't have any new like things, and I've been in a very, as I've said, over on the other side, I've been in a very retro mood. I'm reading a lot of retro Marvel comics. I'm doing a lot of comfort escapism right now. But I would just like to say, for those of you who have never watched Peaky Blinders, I can't remember if I recommended this already, but like, God, what a good show Peaky Blinders is. And I am now a diehard Cillian Murphy fan. I've always enjoyed his work, but my God, this man is doing such amazing work in this show. It's unbelievable. It is so good, Riley. It's so well written. I watched the finale of 1923 with Kate, which, I have a love for Taylor Sheridan stuff. I thought this season of 1923 was disappointing. And I compare, because they're set in the same general time period, I compare the plots and twists and character development of Peaky Blinders to 1923, and it's just like heads and shoulders above most stuff that's out there that's popular. It's so well written. So Peaky Blinders, that's if you guys haven't watched it yet, go definitely go watch it. And it's one of those, it's only 6 episodes a season and 6 seasons, so you can get through it, pretty quickly. It's not
who made it? What's it on?
It's on Netflix. It's a they might also, I'm sure they have DVD collections of this if you want to get a hard copy. It's Stephen Knight is the executive writer, creator, producer. It's very, very, very good. Cannot recommend it enough. And amazing music in it. The theme is Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds, the Red Right Hand, which feels like, when that started in the first episode, I was like, well, this song, don't you feel I love this song, but it might be a little played out. It's not. And they find other artists to cover the song. They use it as like a theme in many different ways throughout all 6 seasons.
Right on.
It's not a traditional theme song to the show.
Sort of like the Weeds theme song where they keep changing it.
Yeah, a little bit like that. And then there's also, they use... it's one of the only shows that I've seen like license and use Radiohead in like all the music is modern, even though it takes place in the past.
Cool.
There's such great music, such great stuff. If you're a music fan on this show, so highly recommend it.
I have to convince Caitlin to watch that so I can watch it over her shoulder and pretend like I still don't use streaming services. Yeah.
I'll tell you what, as soon as I'm done, I've got a few episodes left. I'm canceling my Netflix until Stranger Things comes back out, because I gotta watch Stranger Things. But enough. I'm hopping off. Speaking of online, swing by my eBay shop. I'll put a link to the show notes. I'm selling some collectibles, like we talked about with Rich, and I have copies of Adventure Van left. I want to thank everybody who's been picking those up. It's been really fun to talk to the Club Scouts and send them doodles of cryptids and sign their books and all that stuff. So join me over there. I'll put a link in the show notes. Pick it up. $20 for Adventure Van, free shipping. I got you covered. I'm throwing some goodies too. So love to go come get it. All right. One last thanks to Rich for joining us. Please like and subscribe to BCC on YouTube. Riley and I are crossing over to the other side to discuss a pre-Columbian American mystery. Ooh. If we don't see you there on Friday, we will see you back here next week for an all-new episode of BCC. Until then, good night.
And go get regressed.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bigfoot Collectors Club is produced and engineered by Riley Bray and executive produced by Riley Bray and Michael McMillian. Our theme song, Come Alone, is by Sun Eaters, courtesy of Lotus Pool Records. Follow Sun Eaters on Spotify. For 3 bonus episodes every month and ad-free episodes, check out BCC The Other Side at patreon.com/BigfootCollectorsClub.